report real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So, how many people are we talking about here?
We are talking about more than 30,000 claimants in South Carolina.
And what do they need to do?
So it is as simple as uploading a single document. So basically the federal requirement, this was part of the legislation that was passed earlier this year. It was a new requirement that PUA claimants have not had to do at all since receiving benefits throughout 2020. But basically what it said is you have to show proof of employment, self-employment, or planned employment. The first two are pretty self-explanatory, but planned employment is someone who maybe had a job offer, but that job offer was rescinded due to the pandemic. And what they need to do is, depending on which bucket they fall into, they just need to upload a single document to their portal. So for someone who was employed, a W-2 employee, they just upload a W-2 from their former employer. For someone who is self-employed, that could be a business license or maybe a state or a federal tax return for their business. And then for someone who had planned employment, that could be a job letter that they received maybe on letterhead or an affidavit they can get signed by an employer. So these are all documents they will already have readily available, and then they just need to go into their My Benefits portal, which is their claimant portal, and upload that document to their portal. Now, I do want to mention, and I would love for you to help push this message, we have a tutorial that actually walks them step by step through that process, how to upload it to the portal, and then how to verify that it was successfully uploaded. So we just want to make sure people understand there is a resource to walk them through that process.
What happens if they just say, I'm not doing it, I'm ignoring it?
Yep, so it is very clear. What we have gotten direction from the Department of Labor is that if they do not comply with this by May 5th, so that's 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically we are federally required to turn off benefits for claimants. That's step one. And this is huge. We would also have to establish an overpayment on their account. And what that means is that for any amount of money they have received in benefits since December 27th of 2020 on PUA, they have to pay that money back to due. So again, this is something that's happening across the nation. Every PUA claimant in the nation is having to do this federal requirement. So regardless of which state you live in, this is something that everyone is experiencing at the same time. All of these state UI agencies like you are sharing the same message, basically urging people to comply with this, or our hands are tied. We have to federally, we are federally required to take those next drastic steps.
Does the same deadline loom here in North Carolina as well?
It is a federal requirement, so for every state.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, that's a considerable amount of money somebody might owe back if they just don't do this one simple thing.
Correct. And I do want to make sure it's understood and very clear. We have had a very robust communication plan here in South Carolina. When this requirement came out, it was something that was brand new. It was something that had never been required of PUA claimants before. So when that first happened, we started sending out weekly reminders that said, hey, this is something you're going to need to put on your radar, go ahead and get it done now. And then as we have really kind of gotten closer to this deadline, we have ramped up those communication efforts. We're talking robocalls, direct targeted emails to this population who has still not complied with this requirement, basically urging them saying, you have until this date to do this. So we have also, of course, built out our website with all the information. It explains the federal requirement. It explains all of the different types of documents that are considered acceptable documents to show proof of employment or self-employment. And then also it's got the tutorial on how to upload that to the agency.
Yeah, this is important. I mean, it's really important that everybody take action on this, because you really don't want to be saddled with having to pay that money back.
Absolutely. It's something we don't want to do. We do not want to turn off someone's benefits. We understand that, these benefits are absolutely critical for people in this transition from unemployment to employment. So this is not something that we want to do, but unfortunately our hands are tied. And again, we have been trying to communicate this as best we can in very targeted messages, but we appreciate the opportunity to kind of, put this message out in another platform, because we hope people are taking heed to this message. The other thing I want to mention, and I hope you can help me really clear this up.
Sure.
So if there is someone, let's say they were only on PUA from January and February, but they've since gone back to work, or they have no longer been eligible for PUA, they may think, oh, I don't have to do this. But the reality is they still have to upload this document. So while their benefits won't be turned off because they've already returned to work, they will still have an overpayment established. So that means that, again, for whatever duration of period of time they did receive benefits, maybe from December 27th through January, that amount would then be established as an overpayment. So that population, again, we are trying to make sure they understand they are still required to complete this.
And that's a lot of people you're talking about there. I mean, a lot of people have since gone back to work, and they may just think this doesn't really apply to me.
Correct. And we've been very clear in our messaging. We're trying to make sure that they're not just auto deleting the email. We want to make sure people, have you gone back to work? You know, we are trying to call attention to that in these direct messages, because we understand there's probably a population of people who think this does not apply to them. And we are trying to make sure it is understood that in fact it does.
Heather, this is great information. Thank you very much for supplying it. We sure appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Bill. Thank you so much.